Hello, everybody. What a day, what a morning for our favorite stock. One of the channel's favorites, HIMS, is up plus 35%. It was up actually even more than that at some point in the pre-market, up to plus 43% in the free market. You had a stock who moved potentially from 27, 28ish to $40, even $41 at one point in a matter of overnight trading. This is why you want to be very, very careful with a stock as volatile as HIMS. You don't want to do options on this puppy. You don't want to do that. This is a crazy, crazy stock, and this is also why I was buying. If you follow the Patreon, you know I've posted a few things. I did a daily DCA, bought a little bit of HIMS, bought a little bit of HIMS these past few weeks, almost every other day actually, and many people were telling me in the comment section, well, you don't understand, there's going to be an over-tariff issue and HIMS is going to drop, or there's going to be a lawsuit and HIMS is going to drop. Well, yeah, but with a CEO that executes this well, you could also have an equally good news that comes out. This is why I just buy stocks. I'm always a net buyer of stocks. I very rarely sell stocks, and this is why on a stock like HIMS, I definitely don't sell calls. You don't want to do that. This is a roller coaster, right? But the way is up. Make no mistake. The way is up. It's a ride. It's high octane ride. It's a crazy ride, but you get these crazy movements, and boy does it feel good to wake up to this performance. So what's the news? The news is Wegovy, semaglutide, of course, that's what they were selling on HIMS as a compounded form. They have a partnership, so it came off shortage officially, and they were able to strike a partnership today, and they announced that today they struck a partnership with semaglutide / Wegovy, that is Novo Nordisk, the maker of this branded medication, which is still under patent until 2031. And so they are going to offer it for $599 a month, and that's going to include the medication and the care, right? The medication and the care bundled into one price. The doctor visits and the follow-ups, however they're needed, monthly follow-ups, bi-monthly follow-ups, and the medication and the 24/7 access to support and guidance, all in one easy bundled price of $599 per month. So 3 times more expensive than the compounded version still, right? It's still, you still have gonna have a lot of people who are not gonna take that and who are just gonna go for probably liraglutide or oral solutions with HIMS, which is what I think is gonna happen, because a lot of people don't want to pay $600 a month on weight loss. But still, that means that a lot of the customers are not gonna move away to Row or to Lilly Direct, which charges about that, right? They're gonna stay at HIMS. The customers who were planning on continuing on their medication are gonna stay with HIMS. They're not going to leave, because now HIMS offers the branded medication at a high price, but relative to what you can get elsewhere, well, that's roughly the same price of what you can get elsewhere. A big deal, another big deal is the fact that we have Dave Moore, who confirmed. And who is Dave Moore? He's part of a U.S. executive team. He's the U.S. leader for Novo Nordisk, and he confirmed that in a statement. Why is this wonderful? This is wonderful because you remember maybe the fiasco from, what was it, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago? You remember that fiasco where Bloomberg reports in the morning that there's a partnership at HIMS, and then Lilly denies in the afternoon that there's no partnership, and then HIMS just did a roller coaster. It did a loop on the roller coaster, and HIMS did nothing in that thing. And then really, I guess it makes you wonder about Bloomberg's reporting in that case. This didn't come from Bloomberg. This came from HIMS themselves. This came from HIMS, right? This was an announcement from HIMS with a confirmation from Novo Nordisk. So I'm very happy to see that they manage this. As a reminder, the GLP-1 business, this is from my last deep dive on GLP-1. The GLP-1 business as of today, right, and they report earnings this upcoming Monday, right? So next week is when they report earnings. But as of today, still the best data we have is GLP-1 revenue is still only 15.6% of the business, and this is what I had, right? We have a pre-GLP-1 business that's growing very fast, and by very fast I mean around 50% year over year, roughly a little more than 50% actually. And then we have the GLP-1 growth trajectory. Ever since we introduced GLP-1, they started growing even faster. This is a company that was growing already at 50%, with an inflection with the GLP-1 business and stopped growing at 50% and decided to grow at 95% year over year post GLP-1 after the addition of GLP-1. This news is very pro 15% of that revenue. This news means that the trajectory growth for HIMSS is likely closer to that yellow arrow right there, right? It's likely closer to the post-GLP-1 growth trajectory because now they can continue to offer GLP-1s, and this removes an overhang on the stock. Let's talk a little more about this news. So, is it a game changer for HIMSS? Well, I mean, it really depends. And to me, this remains just one category at HIMSS, and to me, they're gonna have much bigger categories, namely hormone replacement therapy, that's testosterone treatment, and another big thing is menopause. They're gonna have that. That's gonna be a huge business, and of course, eventually, probably, I think, diabetes care. And if they have diabetes care, forget about it. This is diabetes care. I think is gonna dwarf GLP-1. But right now, GLP-1 is the big category for HIMSS, right? And GLP-1 is there to stay now that we have this partnership. What do I think happened? Why didn't HIMSS partner with Lilly? Because simply I think Lilly has the volume for Roe, and if you look Roe and don't be fooled by the 23% here, because that's BetterHelp for 23%. Roe is actually, I'm not too good with colors, but Roe is either a 13.5 or a 6.2% in that chart. I can't really tell with the colors. I think it's the 13.5, but I'm not so sure. Anyways, HIMSS dwarfs any competition. HIMSS is the biggest player in the telehealth industry. And so it makes sense that Lilly could not partner with HIMSS because we're the biggest players. How do you have the volume? How can you have the volume? I think HIMSS, I think Zepbound, right? Tirzepatide. I think they likely have the volume for Roe. I think they don't have the volume for HIMSS. You know, no financial advice. I don't know, but that's my feeling that I get. It's just my opinion, is that they don't have the volume, which is why HIMSS had to partner with Ozempic. They had to partner with semaglutide, with Novo Nordisk, and this point is actually in line with HIMSS House. By the way, love you guys, HIMSS House. You do such an amazing job, and I loved your interview. If HIMSS is a big position for you, you should probably listen to this interview from Martin Shkreli, right? Famous or infamous healthcare investor. Anyways, the point is that he said that, you know, let's not count Novo out because they have a lot of manufacturing capacity, and that's exactly what happened. That manufacturing capacity that Novo as is now going to be put to the benefit of HIMSS. And so even if semaglutide, you know, is technically only 15% weight loss versus, I don't know, 19 or 20% weight loss for tirzepatide, even though it's technically slightly less effective than tirzepatide because it's like single action versus dual action, all of this doesn't really matter if you don't have the capacity to manufacture. Novo has the capacity to manufacture. I will also need to revisit this stock, Novo Nordisk, now that there is this partnership. I will want to revisit the Novo Nordisk story, even though I'm very fearful because they are not located in the Netherlands, and I see two risks. I see tariffs, and I see double tariffs because of Greenland. So you know, we'll see. There's some risk out there in the world. The market does not miss any risks. It does not lack any risks. There's a bunch of risks in the market. The market doesn't like that. So, conclusion, this deal should have a very positive short-term impact on the stock. Short-term, I think this is wonderful for the stock. Long-term, and as you know, I'm a long-term investor, long-term, I don't think it matters that much. Long term, I think HIMS would have been fine no matter what. That's the long term play. But short term, I think this is a clear catalyst for the stock. Why? Because there's many positives. It eliminates the legal fears on a potential Novo lawsuit. I never understood that. I never even discussed that in my video because I don't understand why there could ever be a lawsuit, because HIMS always followed the law to a T and always said that they would stop selling after the shortage was done. So I never thought this was an actual threat at all whatsoever, because HIMS always followed the law to the T. But people sometimes just claim stuff on the internet and they associate things. But anyways, a lot of Wall Street thought that this was a thing because they don't dig deeper than the headlines, and so that removes that fear, because now they're partnering. So if you're partnering, how could you think they're gonna sue each other if they're partnering? Point number one. Point number two, it allows HIMS to keep their own customers, transition them to the branded medication. So these customers are not gonna flee to Ro, or they're not gonna flee to Lilly Direct. Like I said, they're likely going to stay with HIMS, but they're just gonna pay 3 times more. And my guess is that some customers are not gonna be happy about the price tripling. And so a lot of them are going to switch to liraglutide. Liraglutide is the generic GLP-1 that HIMS is launching. That generic GLP-1 is $299 a month, so only $100 more than what HIMS was charging for compounded sema, right? So it's not that much more. It's 50% more. It's healthcare. Healthcare, sometimes you can get 1,500% increase overnight sometimes, because it's a very rent-seeking industry. So actually, not that big of a deal. And if they want to save money, by the way, they can switch to an oral pill. Oral pill is also a solution. So what's going to happen to the 15.4% of the business? My guess is that they're going to retain most of it, and that the growth is going to continue as planned. I think the growth is not going to be abated that much. It's just that a lot of people are going to be disappointed that they have to pay 3 times more now. But that means that those people who can't afford it will switch likely to oral solutions or to liraglutide. This is what I think. And this puts HIMS in line for future partnerships with Novo Nordisk, with the tides, right? It's the peptide industry. I would argue that peptides is part of protein, right? They're building blocks of proteins, and I think, based on conversations I've had with AIs about this, I think peptides are going to be huge in the future. They're going to treat other things than just weight loss, and we're seeing this with GLP-1s already. Like, we're seeing, if you go on Reddit, if you go online, if you go on forums, you see that many people take GLP-1s to help with, say, compulsive shopping, or to help with alcohol cessation. So there's a lot of benefits to peptides that go beyond just the weight loss, and so I think this partnership really puts HIMS as a front runner to distribute any other drug that Novo may come up with. And is Novo going to be a tide leader, just like Lilly? Well, likely. Well, then that means any new thing potentially distributed by HIMS. So this is good for the long run. There's one negative, though, is that there's now going to be heightened tariff association. The fact that they partnered with the European company on this, it means that, 60 days, 80 days from now, when tariff negotiations, come back and there's tweet storms or whatever again, that means HIMS is likely to have another short-term movement, because people are going to be like, oh, I don't know, U.S. president threatens Netherlands with XYZ tariff. So now one negative is that we have a heightened tariff association for HIMS, even though we all know that pharma is not included in the tariffs right now. But that's not how the market thinks, right? The market thinks, oh, pharma is going to be included. I'm telling you, it's going to be included, and it's not really working on fact. It's working on feelings. That's how the market works, and this is why the stock is up 43% today. Again, do we really believe that the value of HIMS has changed by 40% today? Absolutely not. I think the stock is still undervalued at $40. Anyways, this was not investment advice, not financial advice, only entertainment on this channel. This is all I do. I entertain. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.